Like, let's say there's 8 categories of stats. They go 4 for 4. I think it depends on what those stats are, because someone could take like speed, power, all those things. Then I don't think it's 50-50, but it depends on what the breakup is.
Just assume all stats are dead even and there's no style advantage.
Oh, so each category is equal in stats.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, like, are we accounting for hacks?
Just assume that the hacks don't have any like sort of matchup style advantage. Just should be even, assuming they have hacks or whatever.
So okay, essentially 2 fighters, the same fighter, but the hacks don't matter.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so if 2 of the same fighters fought each other, would they have a 50-50? I mean, depending on mindset, sure. Because it's like, obviously someone's mindset could be more inclined to win. That could play a factor into it. Someone's mindset could just be off that day, so that could play a factor into it. Someone's performance could be off that day. But if you were to take those things, if you were not to take those things into account, then sure, those 2 people could have a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, just removing external factors. All right, so from there, are you aware that Ghetto's chance of beating Gojo individually is like something like 30%, and with Rika, it goes up to 99%?
You said Ghetto?
Yeah, Volume 0 Ghetto.
All right, send me that.
Sure, let me see if I have it. Oh, there is a scans channel.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the right one. Hopefully my audio doesn't bug out.
This is the first time Sakazuki's actually glazing me, bro. Like, damn. Bro, Sakazuki's always glazing the person I'm debating. Finally, this guy's on my side. Like, damn.
What a goat, man. What a goat.
Oh, God. Yeah. Send me the skin.
It's in VC scans.
Okay. Okay. Our chances of winning this war are 30%. If Jujutsu Society gets involved, it goes down to 20. But the probability goes up to 99 with one move, kill Yuta Kotsu, and take the special grade vengeful Curse Spirit Rika. Our chances are... He's talking about the Night Parade of 100 Demons, right?
Yeah, just their ability to win that whole fight is mainly dependent on Rika.
So, didn't he say... I don't remember, after or before this, did he talked about Gojo's participation in the war, right?
I'm not sure what you're referencing. He might have, but if there's like a specific statement in mind...
Is he referencing Gojo's participation in this?
Yeah, he should know that Gojo will participate, since when he initially comes to declare war or whatever, he talks to Gojo directly. He's like, yeah, y'all are about to get worked.
I think there's reason to believe that he's not, because I think this is kind of stupid. I'll explain why. So, sure. Getzo himself, the special grade users, right? The special grade definition is the ability to combat a nation, right? You're able to defeat nations by yourself, right? But we know that Getzo, even Kenjaku, who gets Getzo's memories, acknowledges that Gojo is far too strong for that categorization. Like, Gojo fucking transcends that shit. Like, remember when Kenjaku was talking to Gojo when he was getting sealed in the prison realm? And he was giving a little monologue, and he basically said, like, you're way too strong. Like, you're way too strong for us to deal with. This is Kenjaku, by the way, who's more proficient at Curse Spirit manipulation than Getzo is, and he has Getzo's memories, and he's still making that claim.
Yeah, no, my issue with that is that's going to be a different Gojo. And even then, I think
a year of difference. I mean, he still mastered
have some sort of basis, or he should have some sort of basis on.
He still mastered his Limitless, though, right? Like, when he made that claim, like a year ago, because it was only a year before Shibuya. So when he makes that claim about him, he still has a mastered Limitless. He still has his domain. He still has Hollow Purple. He has all those things.
We don't know if he has domain. I don't think we know at what point he gains it.
I'm pretty sure it's consistent. Here's the thing, because he had Limitless mastery against Toji. He had red, blue, and purple, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, not to its fullest extent, because later on he gains greater proficiency with the Limitless, and that's when he fully gains the strongest title.
Of the Limitless, because I can agree that he gets a greater mastery of the purple because he's able to exert it himself more, like to 200%. But if you're talking about like red and blue, what do you mean by a greater mastery?
He said he got a phone call.
Oh, okay.
This big bitch.
I'm back. All right. What did you say? Just reiterate that last argument.
You said he gained mastery in terms of red and blue from the time he fought Toji.
You said what?
You said he gained mastery, more proficient than what he had during when he fought Toji.
We don't know to what extent, but yeah, there should be some variance in terms of mastery or mastery.
So when do you think he gained it?
There's like a statement that says he's gained like full control over at least the passive or neutral
Limitless.
my
problem is, I think the only time Gojo actually gets considerably stronger is from the time he fights Sukuna. Because what he says is that he did special type of training so he can wail on Megami, and he did that whole thing so he's able to combat Megami. He talked about how his techniques were sharpened, his body, his curse things, all those things were sharpened to its height. But before that, which is when the Shibuya statement is made, I don't think he's considerably stronger than a year ago. I don't think anything really shows that. I think when he fought Toji, we saw he had mastery of Hollow Purple. Directly after fighting Toji, like a year, I think, he had mastery over his Limitless. He was able to use it passively, RCT, all those things. So I don't think his strength level rise too much from that point to the Shibuya claim. But then from when he fought from Shibuya to Sukuna, when he got trapped in the prison realm, that's when his strength actually raised considerably. Even he himself said that.
Yeah, no, but we see like some sort of increase between the Toji fight and like a year after and shit like that. There is like a consistency for Gojo going stronger if given enough time.
Show me that from in between the Toji thing to the Shibuya thing.
Sure. Does anyone have the statement where Geto says he's finally become the strongest, like individually or whatever?
Gizbob, the Toji
I got that.
part.
No, I'm saying he grows stronger from Toji fight to like a year later, like a year after the Toji fight, while he's still in school or whatever, and then grows again later.
But say you gotta view this. The Shibuya thing, that was like 6 months apart or some shit. Like I don't remember. Oh no, it was 19 days actually. The Shibuya thing was 19 days, and for Gojo, I forget how long it was because the time was different in the prison realm. But for them, it was 19 days, and he was considerably stronger just from doing his own special type of training. So I don't know if you're going to say that the difference between the strength levels or discrepancy in strength from in between his fight with Toji and then a year after that is the same as it would be from a year, like the 100 Night Parade of 100 Demons to Shibuya.
I don't even know if I could assert that they're the same, but I'm just saying that there's a consistency for him growing if given enough time. Like Gojo does consistently get stronger throughout the story.
I think throughout certain points, but I don't know if you could apply it to Shibuya without showing actual evidence for it. Because like I said, for the Shibuya thing, from Shibuya to the prison realm thing, like the Sukuna fight, there's actually shown evidence for that. For the Toji thing, there's shown evidence for that and expressed by virtue of the fact that he mastered his Limitless Curse technique. The other one is expressed by the fact that he's able to change the conditions on his barrier, like his domains. So those two things express that he got considerably stronger. For the Toji thing, I don't know if you can necessarily prove that. If there's anything that expresses that he got considerably stronger.
Yeah, it would be more so an implicit thing via the statements. We know Gojo and Shibuya around that time is considered far too strong for even somebody like Kenjaku. Meanwhile, within the realm of Volume 0 or whatever, at least within the knowledge Geto has, which should be up to, at the very least, when he masters passive Limitless, he seems to be far more beatable, at least for characters on that level.
Wait, what expresses that he's more beatable? The 99% statement?
There's that statement. There's the fact that only when he masters passive Limitless is he considered the strongest individually. There's some statements regarding Yuta as well. There's like a pretty consistent line of.
I think obviously I'm going to go ahead and say that one's a question bag if you want to say the 99% thing, because that's what's being called into question, whether or not this includes Gojo. And I don't think it includes Gojo unless you can prove it does. And obviously I pointed out the reason behind that is because I think there's a discrepancy in strength. And I showed you that in the two instances where he grew stronger, there was actual things we could view to say that he got stronger. Like, for example, being able to change the condition of his domain, that was the Sukuna thing, and being able to passively utilize his Limitless. So those two things express to it that he got considerably stronger with his techniques, with his body, all those things. But with this thing, you're using the 99% thing to say he's more beatable now. I'm saying this doesn't necessarily include him, and I'm using the discrepancy in strength to call that into question. So I think that's just a question bag.
Well, yeah, no, but the major issue with that is actually, how are you interpreting it? Are you just saying Gojo's not included in the statement of like Jujutsu Society or whatever?
Because I think it's very inconsistent to say that one spirit, Rika or Imoto, because like I said, the initial thing that I brought to contend that was the fact that Kenjaku looked at Gojo sealed in the prison realm and he goes, "You're far too strong for this." And he has Geto's memories and he's more proficient with curse spirit manipulation than Geto is. He's way better of a sorcerer with that stuff than Geto is. He even pointed out multiple times how Geto is not good at using curse spirit manipulation. So he's standing there far more experienced than Geto and he's better at his own CT than Geto and claims that Gojo is too strong for that. Now, the thing you used to counter that was the discrepancy in strength. They're trying to say that there's some sort of implication that shows us that Gojo gets stronger each year or he consistently gets stronger. But I showed you in those two instances that he does get stronger, there's actually a known variable that we can utilize to say that he did get stronger, but you're just saying it's implicit. But then you trace back to the 99% thing, which obviously got contended.
Well, no, I reference there's a greater consistency of these statements revolving around Rika and Gojo and there being some level of comparability in terms of their strength. I can send you a couple.
I don't think Rika and Gojo are comparable in strength, but okay. You can send them.
Sure.
We know the clean Brij.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, read through it.
I am getting glazed.
Oh, I'm missing one of the statements. That's actually so unfortunate. But there are like three statements. You can look at
which statement I can get it.
Or whatever.
I'm in Moki's scan, so I got you.
Getting glazed.
Can you send me the one where he says that they would have died if Rika got let out again or whatever?
Yeah, I got you on it.
Last one you need.
I'm literally getting glazed in chat. Do you see this? Infinity, you're getting glazed too.
I don't care. Everybody who's glazing me has either lost to me or one of my victims.
Type shit.
Also, Brij, you can go through scan by scan, but I prefer that you tack the consistency because there's going to be like some probability-related issues if you're to just kind of provide an equal interpretation for each individual scan as opposed to the consistency of them.
Okay, yeah, I got the statement.
My bad. My sister came into my room. What's up? What'd you say?
Oh, I was saying I'd prefer if you were able to attack like the consistency of these scans and point them to a different conclusion as opposed to going one by one because there are going to be some probability-related issues if you do just kind of point each individual scan to a different conclusion.
Yeah, that's fine. You can use them in tandem with each other. We'll go over them.
Sure. Oh yeah, look at scans challenge again.
Wait, do you think Gojo's applying that to himself? That is retarded.
The first one?
Yeah, the one where he says Rika's impossible to exercise, I think that's retarded. There's no way
the ability
to Gojo.
Well, it ties into the other statements, but if he had the ability to individually exercise Rika, then there'd be no need for Yuta to unravel the curse. Because the whole end goal for Volume 0 is for him to get rid of this curse.
Have you read One Piece? I'll actually give you an example with One Piece. The
not.
admirals. Oh, okay. Then never mind. I'll just say this. He's saying it's unknown. I think what he's saying is that's like an unknown thing because he even says in the panel right after, he talks about how Rika is like an unknown force and that they shouldn't tamper with something that's unknown. That's what he says right after. I don't think Gojo thinks it's impossible for him to exercise that shit. That's bodacious. That's retarded. Because the thing is with Rika, we know that the reason that Yuta is a special great curse spirit is because of Rika's curse energy. But it's literally shown to us that Gojo is just so far above that level, even by Yuta himself. Because you remember how Yuta kind of regains his special grade status after Rika disappears, right? And then Yuji goes to say that Yuta's curse energy is immense. It's powerful, right? Which is the thing that is facilitating his special grade status in the first place because Rika's providing that to him, right? That's when...
Well, we don't know at what point he regained Rika, so there's going to be an issue with that, but...
Well, what do you think he regained his special grade status upon? Like, what basis?
Probably just individual training. He seems to be around that level by himself, considering his fight with Ryu and stuff.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that level of cursed energy is shown to be like an immense power, an immense force. That's the reason that Rika gives him or facilitates his special grade status in Volume 0, because he's not like that himself. He's a bitch by himself. At the start of Volume 0, throughout the entirety of it, until he fights Geto, Yuta is pretty much a bitch the whole time. The only thing that's providing him with that immense level of strength is Rika's curse energy, correct?
I don't even know if he can draw on Rika's curse energy in Volume 0. I think the end of Volume 0 he does fight some high level status.
You remember when he called upon Rika and said, "Give me everything" at the end against Geto, and he was able to fire off that cursed spirit beam, like that cursed energy beam?
Yeah, I believe it was Rika firing the beam, though.
No, that was the both of them. That's why I'm saying he can probably draw on it. It was like he called on her. He was like, "Oh, I love you. We'll be together forever." And then he was like, "This is our love," type shit, or "This is our pure love. Our love is pure." That's what he said. And then he shot Geto with a beam, and it was both of them. He was holding up his hand to signal the indication of that beam, just like he was in the chapter against Ryu. So yeah, I think it's the both of them.
Rather than him drawing on Rika's curse energy, could that not just be him adding his curse energy to whatever she's doing or feeling her technique?
He's still utilizing some portion of Rika's strength. That's the point.
Well, no, that would be the opposite. That would be him adding his curse energy to whatever beam Rika's producing, as opposed to him drawing on Rika's curse energy.
Wait. Here's the thing. Here's the problem I have with that. That goes against the basis that he gains his special grade status upon. He gained his special grade status because of Rika Orimoto's large amount of curse energy. Like, that's why he...
Yeah, initially because he was improficient with CE usage, but we see that changes
that's why he got it
on.
stripped from him. So they knew about the events. Gojo literally pointed out, "Oh, you know the person who beat up your body right before I killed it? He knows what happened, but Yuta still got his curse status spit, like his, what's it called? His grade."
Well, he didn't see the entirety of the fight, and Gojo's not going to be the only person that has bearing over who achieves special grade status. Special grade status is going to take a lot more than...
Yeah, wait, that's dumb. Because Yuta literally beat a special grade sorcerer. Gojo is aware of that.
With Rika.
He's aware that Yuta was able to... Yeah, oh my god, that's the point. He's aware that this is happening because of Rika. So he points out that Rika is the reason that he gains a special grade status. That's what's known to us, right? But then initially, he knows that Yuta beats Geto in a fight, who is a special grade sorcerer, but he still gets his special grade status stripped. The only thing that we know that Gojo saw happen was Rika disappear.
Okay, well, a major issue with that is going to be the ability, or special grade sorcerers, the reason they get that grade is the ability to take down a nation by themselves. Just a guy with a sword who just has curse energy manipulation at a high level is probably not going to be able to do that thing. There's also going to be other factors, like the higher up unwillingness to promote Yuta.
I don't know if it's on a high level in Volume 0. I don't think he's able to do it on a high level in Volume 0.
He's able to hang with Geto individually.
Yeah, because the cursed energy was welling up inside of him. It's not necessary that he has control over it.
No, he says he's getting a hang of the control.
Yeah, he's getting a hang of it. That does not mean he's mastered it. You said high level mastery.
No, I didn't say high level mastery. It's high levels of curse energy control. That's going to be reliant on things like your quantity and your level of control.
Yeah, that doesn't necessitate high levels of control. He could be getting the hang of it. Doesn't mean that he's at that high level. It depends on what
the sense in which I'm using curse energy control or manipulation is just going to be the ability to reinforce your body or amplify your stats. That's going to be dependent on things like quantity and your skill.
Yeah, to what level? That's what I'm saying. If you throw out the term, high level mastery, and then you say, oh, okay, well, Yuta's able to do that.
To the level of, he's able to amplify his stats to the level of Ghetto. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I don't.
Whether it's through pure control or quantity or a mix of both, which I think it's a mix of both, so, he's able to hang with Ghetto.
If you get an amp from the negative emotions that are welling up inside of you, and then you're able to manipulate some base level of cursed energy on top of that, right? We know he can manipulate it to some extent. We don't know what level, but then we know he gets a mental amp because Ghetto literally says the negative emotions well up inside of you, and the riffraff becomes no match for you. That is just because he's mad as fuck because Ghetto beats the shit out of Maki.
Okay, do you think that's going to be like a temporary thing? Because the negative emotions are turned into cursed energy. I'm not sure if cursed energy is temporary.
Of Yuta, yeah. That would be temporary for that specific version of Yuta unless another major event took place to make that happen.
Well, no. What I'm questioning is if the cursed energy goes away. I don't think there's any precedent for that.
Yeah, okay, the control over that cursed energy, the boost that he gets from that would go away. Not necessarily that the cursed energy is going away. Like I said, Yuji, this is a perfect example. Yuji at the start of the series has cursed energy in him. Gojo tells him to utilize it, but he cannot utilize it. It's not that the cursed energy is not there. It's that he's not controlling it properly. So that's why when Yuta has it in Volume 0, he can get a mental amp and gain a large amount of cursed energy, like Yuji has done before. That doesn't mean he's going to be able to control it afterwards.
Yeah, but what the mental amp gives is more curse energy. It doesn't affect his ability to manipulate curse energy. Once he's gained the ability to manipulate that set level of curse energy, he shouldn't lose it.
Yeah, I don't think that's true at all. The difference is you're trying to apply it to controlling, and I'm saying he can have it, but he doesn't necessarily have the ability to control it. That is literally shown by virtue of the fact that you remember when Yuji made that statement about, so you always have to be flipping out to be able to use your curse energy. That's what's happening. He's flipping out, and that's why he's getting a large boost in curse energy. And that curse energy.
What statement are you referencing?
The statement at the start of the series when Yuji was talking to Gojo, and Gojo said that curse energy comes from negative emotions, and then Yuji says, so you always have to be flipping out to use your curse energy.
Send me what you're talking about. I do remember the conversation vaguely, but not this specific statement.
Yeah, sure.
Quixu, what is wrong with you? Like, even if that is what the statement says, I don't feel like it's super difficult to respond to. He's on my dick.
Can someone tell me what chapter Gojo talks to like Yuji in that one room where he's trying to train him?
It's when they're watching the movies and shit, right? I can try to look for it. Or when you just watch the movies or whatever.
Gojo basically says that cursed energy is built off of negative emotions, and then Yuji says, oh, so you always have to be like flipping out to use your cursed energy?
Oh, and Gojo just says no.
Okay, well, we can clearly see that people do that. Gojo himself has done that. He can think that. I don't care.
It's going to give you like a boost in terms of your quantity, but it's not the requirement for manipulating.
I don't think it's about quantity. I think it's about boosting your current physicals. I think it can boost. I think for two things. Well, first of all, it boosts the amount that you get at hand, and then it also boosts the amount that's being put into your body for reinforcement. Because
if you have a greater pool of energy to draw on, you're going to be able to amplify your stats further.
He literally goes from getting perception blitz by Ghetto to blitzing Ghetto. So that it wouldn't make sense for him to
perception blitz.
He literally, when they pulled up to the school, he jumped in front of Yuta, and Yuta was shocked. He didn't see shit.
Is this like prior to their initial fight? What instance are you talking about?
Remember when they pulled up to the school grounds and Maki was like, "Oh, get off the school grounds before Yuta beats you up," and then Ghetto literally just appears in front of Yuta.
No, what the fuck? No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'll grab it for you.
Does he like fucking flash step? Like this sounds like some Bleach shit.
Yeah, it was literally like a flash step.
Sure. Wait, say it again, Brij.
Yo, you remember at the start of like in the middle of Volume 0, when Ghetto comes to declare war on Jujutsu High, he pulls up to the school and there's like 3 or 4 people with him, and then Maki's like, "Yo, get off the school grounds before Yuta beats you up," and yet Ghetto literally just appears.
He did not say that. I sent the scan. That's true. That's true.
He did send this. He did send the scan. My whole issue is I don't even know if Yuta's the one getting blitzed there. It seems to be the other three that react with speed, and they're like, "Oh, that guy's really fast."
Yeah, okay, we know that Maki should have a level of perception near Yuta's because she's able to beat him in a fight. So why is she fucking getting blitzed too?
Is this in reference to the weaker Yuta?
Yo, bro, the only variable that changes is the cursed energy welling up inside of him.
No, he trains, but he trains between this point.
Wait, before y'all continue with that, can y'all just establish if the weakened Yuta's getting blitzed here?
Huh?
Before y'all get into whether or not he got stronger, can y'all establish that the weaker Yuta's getting blitzed here? Like,
yeah, if you want to send me send me his training thing, like in between now and then.
This nigga did not just listen. Okay, y'all got it.
Yeah, no, I'm saying send me it.
What chapter is this in Volume 0?
It's
like 2 or 3.
2 or 3?
Yeah,
there
I
are
don't know.
4. That shit is
so
not
do y'all agree or not?
4 chapters.
I'm saying I don't know. He needs to send the thing.
I'm not talking about. Like, are you retarded? Oh my god.
Are you?
I'm more thinking of.
I'm saying before y'all argue upon him getting stronger, do you agree that this specific Yuta got blitzed?
No,
yeah,
I'm not
do you agree
sure,
that this specific version of Yuta got blitzed?
It's going to depend on if this is the Yuta pre-training with Maki or post.
That's not the question. The question is, did this specific version of Yuta...
Wait, hold on. He's saying if it's pre-training...
I think the basis to say he got blitzed is only sufficient, assuming this is the one
that... So you agree that this version of Yuta got blitzed, correct?
No, nigga, no.
No, that's not what I said.
Hold on, Brij. He's saying if it's post-Maki, sure.
No, I'm saying it's pre,
my bad.
Oh yeah, this is after Maki training, 100%. What the fuck?
Jin said it's chapter 2. Let me see.
This is way after the Maki training.
Are you retarded? Oh my god.
Oh, are you trolling?
I'm not making nothing, bro. I'm not making any claims.
You trolling, right?
You got it, bro.
Yo, the training was literally after Yuta got introduced into the class, bro. What are y'all tweaking about?
No, go ahead, bro.
Jin, this shit is not chapter 2, gang. I don't see it in chapter 2.
Yeah,
unless
honestly,
I just scroll fast.
So Gizbob, the way it goes is Yuta gets introduced to the class. Here, piano. You remember when Yuta gets introduced to the class, right?
Yes.
And then you remember they go outside to do 2v2 sparring.
Oh no, I'm saying that training continues. It's very blatant in the movie.
Okay, so I'm asking you to send me that.
Yeah. Are you fine with appealing to the movie since Gege adds stuff to the movie that he wanted in the manga initially?
There's like a statement
regarding that. Does anyone have the statements regarding like the movie and Gege's involvement in it? But let me. I don't see this. I don't see this instance at all, bro. I'm just reading through it.
Share a server real quick.
What are you looking for?
I already sent you the blitz in chat. Like all 3 of them.
The shit he's saying is a blitz. Is that like what chapter?
I'm gonna just watch the clip real quick to see if the same shit.
Bro, Gizbob, it's after.
And right here.
Brij, you're getting drowned.
But is there time passing between this and like the actual fight, or is this like one day before or something?
From what I understand,
a lot of people think it is, but in the manga, just
next watch the clip. It looks like he got blitzed, bro.
He did get blitzed.
Just watch the clip, Gizbob.
Let me watch the movie.
Yo, Brij, shut up. Damn.
Bro sent some dub shit.
Yo, bro, I sent you the manga too, bro. Fuck the dub. Fuck this up. The manga's right there.
What here looks like a blitz?
What?
Y'all can argue on that.
He literally.
Wait, no. I thought it was gonna be like he like fucking flash steps in front of him. He just grabs his hands.
What happened.
We don't know at what point Yuta was tracking him. We don't see.
Okay, so Yuta's looking at him because he's making Okay, so at the start of this, Yuta's literally looking at them because they're fucking talking to him, and they're like, "Oh, he's so." And then literally he flash steps in front of him. The 3 of them, especially the important one, is Maki because Maki's able to beat Yuta in a fight. Maki should be able to perceptively keep up with Yuta at least just based off that. She literally looks him right in the eyes and goes so fast. They couldn't.
Wait, do we know this Maki, or do we know Maki's comparable to this Yuta? If the training takes place before this, do we know?
How long ago did it take place?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's really weird to kind of quantify these time gaps.
If you say that this Yuta is comparable to that Maki, but you don't even know the discrepancy in time, then I wouldn't even take it into account because what we know is that version of Maki, that Maki and that Yuta were training together. If you don't know the discrepancy in time, then I wouldn't say that it's inconsistent.
Well,
because Yuta
that's what I'm questioning is if it's that Yuta.
Wait, the problem is Yuta himself could also not react to it, so it stays consistent.
That's what's in question, but
Yuta did not react to it. You can clearly see in the panel, Yuta just literally.
We don't know at what point he's looking at Geto. We don't know at what point he starts tracking him.
Yeah,
unless you expect him to like pull out his sword and fucking slice at Geto when Geto walks up.
Yo, I just told you he was talking to him right before that, and then he comes out of the thing and he's like, "Hello," and he grabs his hands. It's right there.
Yeah, but all we see, okay, so we see a close up of the group or whatever. Then we see Geto grabbing Yuta's hands and Yuta looking at him. So we don't know at what point.
Right before this, okay, it was like a flash step thing. That's what it's described as. Or not described as, but that's what I'm conveying it to you as. He literally jumps right in front of him, grabs his hands, and he's like, "Hi, nice to meet you." And then all three of them, that whole group of second years, or first year point, they go, "Yeah, so fast."
Yeah, they think he's fast. I don't know what the
They
basis
couldn't
say
react
Yuta
to
is. I don't know if they couldn't react. It looks like they're tracking him. They'll
No,
look
they
at
look.
him.
Okay, so here's the thing. They looked at it as it happened. So not as it happened, but right after. My bad. So after he did it, when he appears to Yuta, they go so fast because that's what happens in the panel. You can clearly see.
Yeah, he moves
jump in
fast.
front of him.
I'm not getting the blitz part.
Okay, he
That's
jumps in
confused.
front of them, and then they afterwards say he's so fast. What do you think that means?
They're commenting on his speed after watching him cover a set amount of distance. I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to get at.
Okay, they're not able to react to it prior to that, but it's drawn in that they react to it.
What
after
sort of
that.
reaction do they? What sort of reaction do you expect? What do you intend
here's
to
the
do?
thing. If you're trying to keep up with someone's speed, and all you can muster up is he goes to Yuta, and at that point you're able to turn your head and say so fast, you have just been blitzed.
Oh my God, that's presupposing that they're not tracking him initially, especially in the case of Yuta.
Wait,
but my
so
whole issue
why
with
do you
that
turn
is
your head and say that?
they're also
That
just
makes no
engaged
sense.
in normal conversation.
Wait, that
Brij,
also
if we're just having a normal conversation,
wait, that's
and I
why
just
they
throw a fucking
attributed
right
speed.
overhand and punch you in the face mid
Wait, your
conversation, are you gonna say I
presupposition
blitzed
thing
you, or are you
is
gonna say
dumb.
you're off guard?
Hold on, your presupposition thing is dumb because they literally attribute it to speed. They say he's so fast. That's dumb.
No, I'm saying you're presupposing that they don't track him at all, especially in the case
Oh
of
my
Yuta.
God.
I don't really care for the other three. I'm talking about Yuta
I said they got
specifically.
blitzed. I said they got blitzed, and he literally shows they attribute this thing to speed. And the whole tracking thing I already showed you, they were talking to
Attribute
him.
what to speed?
Yo,
what?
they attribute the event that takes place to speed. They say he's so fast.
Well, yeah, all he did was cover a set amount of distance. Of course, it's going to be a speed-related thing. I don't see how this ties into the blitz point. But
okay, yes, the
again,
reason.
I'm not really arguing about those three.
It's by virtue of the reaction. You can clearly see within the reaction in and of itself. They're looking at him, and then he goes there, and then all they're managed to muster up is a slight turn to the left, right? And they do that after it happens, and then they go, "Oh, he's so fast!" Like this, literally, this is dumb.
That's going to be the point at which they turn. But yeah, where's the correlation to Yuta is going to be their relative perception. Why? Also, I don't.
Yuta and Maki?
Do you want me to go over the like off guard thing?
How
they're probably not amping their perception at this point.
Hold on. How far off is the training from in between Maki and Yuta? Like from this time to this time?
I'm literally. I just don't know if we know.
Does anyone know what the time difference is?
Enough time for a Goodwill event to have passed, at the very least.
Was there a Goodwill event from this time to this time? Because I know Megan was talking about it in the current sequence of events. He talks about how there was a Goodwill event and how Yuta soloed it.
Yeah, there was an off-screen Goodwill event.
Was there a Goodwill event that took place in this one? Like in between that time?
Wait, in between what specifically?
He's saying in between training and the Night Parade of 100 Demons or the day before.
Well, no, the time before. That's the thing. This is the time right before the Night Parade of 100 Demons. So we don't know. It's not like right on that. It's like right before it, I'm pretty sure. So if you want to send me that there was a Goodwill event in between those two times, then send that.
Sure. Well, I'm saying there was a Goodwill event that took place. It couldn't have been the most recent one, like in the current time frame. It would have had to have been this one.
Yeah, send that.
Bro.
Sure. Can someone send the Yuta Goodwill stuff?
I mean, this is the. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, when do they graduate?
They haven't yet.
They're all second years.
Second years.
Yuta, yeah, bro. Oh my God. Okay, the first Goodwill event was the first year when Hikari was there. The second one, which is what we see on screen, is the what?
So Hikari's not here, right?
No, Hikari was in the first Goodwill event, or no, or something like he was suspended.
We don't know if Hikari was there for the one Yuta participated in. We don't know. We have no idea.
We know he was at the school, but we know he got kicked, or it was something weird. He got like kicked out or something.
No, the reason why he wasn't in the second.
Hikari is a thug, bro. Like that boy was not going to school.
Yeah, but here's the problem.
That little nigger boy.
You want to say that he what? Yeah. Anyways, if you want to say that there was a Goodwill event that took place in between those two things, just send me that.
Sure. Can somebody just send the?
Also depends on when they graduate. They might have had one after the Night Parade of 100 Demons, depending on when they graduate.
No, it was, bro.
Yeah, depending on when they graduate.
Hikari got kicked out during the Night Parade. Yeah, I know, but he's viewed as a delinquent like before that. So that's my whole thing. I don't know if he was even going to
graduate 2 second years.
Can somebody send the goddamn Yuta Goodwill thing?
Pretty sure it was they should be around like similar times, the Night Parade shit and the Goodwill event.
Which means that there doesn't necessarily have to be one from in between that time to that time.
What'd you say?
Wait,
That
I
means
don't.
that this
How do we know that there's
necessarily-
similar time frame? I just don't.
No,
Are
no,
you
I'm
talking
pretty
about
sure.
training? Yeah,
Bro,
okay,
okay. Does
wait,
anyone know the
training?
panel where? Go ahead.
Anyway, yeah, the training thing happens right after Yuta gets introduced to the class. I don't know if you want to talk about like when he gets admitted into the high school. I don't even know when that is. But then the night parade thing, this one, all we know is this is how it goes down. We know that it goes this training thing, introductions. Then after that, it has like a little thing about how he went to that place with Inumaki to fight like that grade 2 cursed spirit or whatever. And then after that, Gojo went to inspect and he found out it was Geto. And then after that, in the movie, at least, I'm pretty sure it's the same in the manga. I don't see why it would change. Then Geto pulls up to the school. Geto has that scene with the monk, like, oh, I almost called him a monkey. Geto has that scene with that one human. Remember where he takes the fucking thingy off of him?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then this happens right after. So that's how I know it goes
Okay.
down.
So my whole thing is we know Yuta participated in a Goodwill. It couldn't have been the most recent one, so it would have had to have been during that year. The two time frames where we could squeeze it in are either between like Yuta's training, the missions or whatever, and this time period, or in between what we see on panel there and the Night Parade of 100 Demons. We don't know the time frame between either.
Yeah, so someone sent the thing. It said Yuta joins JJK High. What takes place December Night Parade of 100 Demons. What's the summer fall thing?
That's supposed to be Goodwill. I assume it's meant to say GW. Yeah.
Oh, Goodwill. Okay. Is there anything that states that? Is there like a timeline, some sort of data book, anything?
I don't even think it's explicitly stated to my knowledge. Those are just one of the only two
all we
time
know is
periods in
that
which take place.
Goodwill happened.
Oh
before
yeah,
Halloween.
so look at that in chat.
Yeah.
It says that Yuta joined right there. It would be after that. So sometime November 2016.
Yeah.
Maybe like a little bit after that. That's when he joins. Then he trains with Maki. Like when he joins, they went to go outside that same day, I'm pretty sure. They trained. And then after that, the Geto thing happens. But I don't know if there's anything that shows that there's a Goodwill event in between those times.
Well, I'm saying the Goodwill event either has to take place in between those two events or in between when Geto shows up in the
it
Night
could take
Parade.
place after the Night Parade.
What? No, because Yuta loses
We don't know
Rika.
when they
And
graduate.
Rika was involved in the Goodwill event. That doesn't make sense.
Did it say that?
Yeah.
Okay. It could be
Maki
right
says
before.
Rika was still around when it happened.
Yeah, it could be right before. That's fine.
Okay, so
That doesn't mean
regardless,
that
it wouldn't
that
backscale
Yuta's there,
to
though.
Yuta the fights Geto because
Yeah,
there was
but that
time
doesn't
passing.
mean that doesn't mean it's the same Yuta though. Because like I said, if it's not right after the training, and if it's after that event, then it would be still Maki to Yuta. There's nothing that really goes against that.
Okay, but my whole issue with that is going to be if Goodwill takes place in between, since there are two potential time frames, if it takes place in between the training and when Geto shows up,
How much stronger do you think he gets, by the way?
How much stronger do I think he gets? I don't know.
Yeah,
We
Yuta.
just know he's training.
Yeah, okay, but what is the level of this training? Because obviously you could just have a little bit of fucking training, doesn't do much for you. What is the level of that training? Because we know this. Rika could fucking solo that Goodwill event by herself. Yuta doesn't need to be inclusive of that. Rika could just fucking bitch the whole Goodwill event by herself. We know she's on that level. People are shocked to see that she's special grade. Like that, we know that that's true, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that Yuta got much considerably stronger during that period of time. It just means that fucking Rika soloed the tournament, or it could just mean that Rika soloed that tournament. That's fine.
Yeah, my major issue with that is going to be one, Yuta doesn't intend to let Rika out. He's intentionally told not to let Rika out, and on top of that,
Rika soloed the tournament.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but that's like after the fact. It says she came out in the middle and started just beating everyone up.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that. Okay, there's an issue with that. That doesn't mean that Yuta was performing well during the first half of the tournament. All it means is that Rika, the two known variables are Rika came out in the halftime and Rika fucking bitched that tournament. And we know that another thing is that Rika is definitely more than strong enough to bitch the people within that tournament. That's what we know.
He would have performed well enough to where Toto views him as like a relevant combatant or somebody that he wants to fight.
Where? Show me that.
Sure. Fuck, I don't have a bunch of these things on him. But the statement where Toto shows up and talks to Megami is like...
Wait, are you talking about Toto's current statements?
What?
That's stupid. Wait, are you talking about Toto's current statements?
Yes.
Yeah, that's stupid. Why is that not just inclusive of his fucking thingy? The fact that he regained his special grade status?
Because... What do you mean the fact that he regained special grade status?
We know that he
gains
a higher level performance. Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because we know that he gains a higher level of proficiency in terms of almost talking everything as a sorcerer. He gains the ability to reinforce himself better with cursed energy. He gains the ability to control his own cursed energy and his CT, his copy CT. He gains all those three things throughout the time of the Night Parade of 100, or after, when he regained his special grade status. It said like 3 months after or some shit. So it doesn't mean that he's referencing past Yuta. And he could just be impressed by Rika still, because Rika is just obviously a branch off of Yuta.
That's where my major issue comes in, because he knows Rika's gone past that point. That seems to be common knowledge.
Yeah, but if he's referencing the time period in which she was there, then he could still reference that. That's why actually it's more consistent that he's referencing Yuta by himself with regaining his special grade status, because it doesn't make sense to comment on the strength of that guy when he had no Rika and no regaining of his special grade status. It doesn't make sense to comment on the strength of that guy. That guy's weak as fuck.
Well, that's what we're talking about right now, is if he's weak. I'm saying.
So do you think that Yuta with no Rika and no regaining of his special grade status is strong enough to be able to combat with the people in that tournament?
Well, yes. What I'm arguing for is that he's still strong prior to regaining his special grade status.
Here's the problem with that. The only form of scaling we see for him is Geto. And with Geto, it was literally Rika. He literally said, "You're exploiting Rika for power." He literally said that to Yuta.
Yeah, as in he's utilizing Rika to combat Geto, but in the sense that they're both jumping him.
Thank you. So, okay, you just said he was using Rika for power. Yeah, there's a problem. If you're talking about he was exploiting Rika for power, prior to that, all that happened was his CE was welling up. Or actually, that's after. His CE welled up after, and he was able to combat with Geto. But then before that, it was literally just he used Curse Speech. That's it. He used Curse Speech to get rid of those spirits, and then he was able to output a little RCT on Maki to heal her. But we don't know.
Rika's the one that gave him the tool to use the Curse Speech, and she's been involved in the fight.
Saying. Rika is much, much stronger than Yuta at this point in the series. She's the reason that Yuta has his special grade status in the first place. And that's why Maki, even when she pointed out, Yuta, you must be a grade 4. Then Rika comes out. That's the reason. We know that's pointed to as the reason. It's depicted as the reason that he has his special grade status. So that's why when you talk about the tournament and it's shown that Rika came out in that tournament, we can chalk it up to her because we know she's more than strong enough to do that.
My major issue with that is going to be, we know he initially gained his special grade status before he had any sort of control over curse energy because of Rika. That's fine. From there, the exploiting Rika for power thing, like I said, I mean that in the sense where they're jumping Geto and Rika's involved with that fight, sure.
I think Rika's powering him. I don't think that's because, like I said before this, yeah, I already explained this. When Yuta has a control over curse energy, we can go on to this point if you think it's the most precedent one. We could talk about how curse energy, when you have emotions, it gives you a boost and it gives your reinforcement a boost because you're mad as fuck. Your cursed energy wells up inside of you. 1, you have a larger pool to draw from. 2, it bolsters your reinforcement. Because, like I said, you can see in the panel right there, he literally does not know what to do with himself. And this is where we came to with the Goodwill event. I said that could just be chalked up to Rika. So you now currently have no points that stand against the fact that he got blitzed.
No, but if you want to talk about the other thing, that's fine. We can get into that. The whole issue with that is you're saying there's 2 benefits to getting like some sort of mental amp. You gain a greater quantity of curse energy, and your reinforcement is bolstered. My whole thing is that's going to be the exact same increase. It's going to be the same benefit. So you gain more curse energy, thus your reinforcement is bolstered as you have more curse energy to use for reinforcement.
So what you're saying is that someone would be able to do that regardless of whether or not they had the mental amp or not. So right after this fight, if you'd had no sort of mental amp, he would be able to control and draw from the same pool of curse energy and reinforce himself to the same level, right?
Hello? My audio cut out. Reiterate that last part for like.
Sure. So all I said was, if you think that means you would also be saying that Yuta, after this fight with no sort of mental amp, would be able to draw from the same pool of curse energy and on top of that reinforce himself to the same level, correct?
We went into the drawing on the same pool. We went into that. You said you don't think the curse energy goes away. So
you know why that's inconsistent?
Why?
Yeah. So after that fight, like I said, Gojo saw this fight take place. He saw Geto lose. He admits that Yuta beat that body up. That's his exact words, was that he beat that body up, right? Then it shows that after that, Yuta still got his special grade status stripped away, and he had to go and regain his special grade status. So if Geto is someone who's able to take down a nation, and Yuta is someone who's able to take down Geto, but he still gets his curse grade status stripped away, right? That means that there was a discrepancy in strength, and he had to regain that power to be able to call himself special grade again. So it's inconsistent to say that he can draw from the same pool because that pool facilitated his win against Geto.
No, that was our initial point. My whole thing is after losing Rika, there's going to be a lot of issues that come into him being ranked as a special grade. 1, he might lose the ability to solo a nation. He doesn't have access to curse techniques anymore. Doesn't have access to Rika. Can't shoot the big ass beam. None of that. All he can do is reinforce himself and use his curse energy.
Yeah, so there's a problem with that.
There's going to be issues in terms of the higher ups and their potential unwillingness to give Yuta that
Yeah,
status.
so you're saying that one extra Shikigambi could give him the potential to beat a nation, even though we know that he gains that level of strength back afterwards, and that's why he gains his special grade status back. After the incident of the Night Parade of 100 Demons, he fought without her. That he's individually strong by himself, which is pointed out by Yuji. Yuji points out how he has the same type of cursed energy pool as Rika. Do you want that statement?
What do you mean the same type of cursed energy pool?
Yeah, it's implied that he has like the same type of pool, like this creepy cursed energy, like this infinite well, this boundless well, whatever you want to call it. He gains that by himself because Rika's not manifested at this point in time. So it would be implying that it's like directed towards him.
Show me what you're talking about.
You remember when Yuta pulled up on Yuji, and Yuji literally says, "Yeah, he has more cursed energy than Gojo Sensei. Rika was not manifested at this point in time."
Yeah,
Your mic cut out. What'd you say?
I keep getting a phone call, but I was gonna say, where does this tie into the initial point? Give me like 1 sec though. I gotta type something real fast.
Is Infinity even here?
Yes, bro.
Okay, cool.
All right. What were you saying? Where does that like tie into your initial point or whatever?
Yeah, okay, so if he regained that, he obviously lost it for the reason of not having Rika, right? Then you say the same cursed energy pool that he pulled from to beat a special grade sorcerer, right? That ties into Yuta now having that same amount of cursed energy because Yuji makes it explicitly clear without Rika manifested that this is after the statement of him regaining his like special grade status. He says that Yuta has this infinite well of cursed energy, this boundless well of cursed energy. This is after that statement, right? So this now shows us that individual aspect has been applied to Yuta himself, and now Rika does not have that. This is the reason he regains his special grade status, right? So this shows us that initially what Rika facilitates is this large amount of cursed energy pool that is able to combat the powers of a special grade sorcerer like Geto, right? Geto uses his special grade, like his spirit. He used one next to him. He used the mini cursed spirits. He did all that. He still loses to Yuta in a fight. That pool of cursed energy was facilitated by the negative emotions amping up in him and by Rika's large amount of cursed energy. We know that's true for Volume 0. He gains that same pool back. That's why he gets his special grade status back.
Wait, why? Okay, my major question would be why is that the same pool? That's what I'm wondering about.
It's described I said it's described to be in the same way. It's talked about how like Rika gives him the link mode where he gets like 5 minutes of cursed energy. Yeah. So in base, Yuta now himself is able to use an infinite or boundless well of cursed energy. And you remember in the Rika fight, he points out how Yuta is bottoming out of cursed energy. And then he says, you're filling all the way up again. Like you're filling up again.
Yeah, Rika refills the cursed energy. But what I'm asking is why that boundless pool is the same pool he had against Geto. I don't think the descriptors are similar.
Yeah,
the descriptors are similar.
Rika facilitates?
Do I not what?
Do you not think that that's what Rika facilitates? That's why he gets
what? Like his ability to combat Geto?
No, okay, obviously the ability to combat Geto, but I'm talking about the cursed energy in and of itself. Do you think that's just Yuta's by himself, or do you think he gained that through Rika?
Yeah, that was my initial point. I don't think he can draw on Rika's cursed energy in Volume 0. She's literally just a cursed spirit.
Yeah, I don't think that's true at all. We can go over that though.
Sure. Why do you think that's not true?
The beam. It's just the beam. I'll send you the whole thing.
We already talked about the beam.
Yeah, I'm talking about how he draws on her cursed energy for the beam.
And I provided another interpretation to that where I said I said he could just be fueling the beam himself or providing his cursed energy to the beam since it seems like Rika fires.
Then we went into a point. This is what happened. We went into a point about how Rika soloed the tournament, and I said that it would most likely do it throughout the entirety of Volume 0. It's shown that Yuta's strength is facilitated to Rika, and it's not really through Yuta. And by the way, I also talked about how he gets the negative emotion.
That's before he gains control over his cursed energy and shit like that, and before he gets that mental.
Okay, he doesn't have. You're saying he can control his cursed energy when he fights Geto, right?
Well, yeah, he does on panel.
Yeah. You literally, no, that's not what happens. He said he's getting the hang of it. It doesn't mean he has complete control over it or even a high level of mastery.
I'm not saying he's like absolutely perfect with his cursed energy control, but I'm saying yes, he can control that cursed energy. That's what he does. the level where he can combat Geto. We've already gone over this.
This presupposes, okay, that's what's in question. We're questioning whether or not he's drawing from Rika.
Yeah, and this doesn't have any direct correlation to if he's drawing from Rika or not.
Yes, it does, because, okay, the problem is what we're talking about is whether or not Rika is able to facilitate his power as a special grade, and I showed you how consistently that was true at the start, and I showed you how she's able to solo that tournament, and I showed you how Rika is described to have that large, creepy, cursed energy pool, that large-ass cursed energy pool, to the point where she's able to restock Yuta, even with just a 5-minute manifestation. So this shows that Rika could be doing that, and then you just tie it back to try and say, oh yeah, well, he's able to combat Geto with his cursed energy pool, but I've shown you clear reasons as to why that could just be Rika.
No, I still don't understand how it could be Rika. Again, she's an individual cursed spirit. How would he draw on a cursed spirit's cursed energy?
Yeah, that's literally what the
drawing on Kuroshi's cursed energy doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's literally what the manifestation does. It provides him with a large amount of cursed energy.
That's when she's more akin to a Shikigami. That's when she's his cursed technique. This an entirely different Rika.
She's not his cursed technique. She can give him
Stated verbatim.
Okay, so not. I think she can just give him
his handbook statement that says Rika's his cursed technique.
Yeah, it literally says in the manga his cursed technique is copy. She can give him his copy. She can like, okay, here's the fucking speaker. That's what she can do. It's not that she is the cursed technique herself.
Reuse speculation. I'd rather appeal to what Gege tells us in the fan book.
You said a fan book, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and turn that.
Sure. Does anyone have that where it says Rika's his cursed technique or whatever?
I'm posting it right now.
Appreciate it.
Look at VC games. I can link the full fanfic if you want to.
Yeah, can you?
Cursed technique, Rika.
Cursed technique, Rika. It's stated to be copy, though. Well, cursed speech, mimicry, reverse technique. Like, it's stated to be copy. If Rika facilitates
could just
copy,
be gained via Rika, his overall.
Yeah, but that doesn't make Rika the cursed technique herself. We know what she is.
She's stated to be the. I don't know why we're arguing this. She's stated to be the cursed technique. You're appealing to reuse speculation. I think Gege's going to be a far more reliable narrator.
Wait, there's literally a narrative panel where no one's making any comments on it, where it shows us what Rika is. Do you want that? It literally gives dots, and it gives like a fucking timetable of what Rika gives us. That's not influenced by Ryu or Uro or anyone that he fought.
Sure, you can show me that. I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about, but you can show me that.
Yeah, sure.
The correlation.
It literally just gives us an idea of where Rika is. It's a narrative panel. It's not influenced by Ryu, Uro, any of them.
Uro is locked in. Oh my god. He's quick with it. He can use cursed techniques, fully manifest Rika, obtain Rika's cursed energy.
Rika's the storage of CT here. Rika is Okotu's external cursed technique and can store cursed energy for him. Which translation is which, by the way? Viz and TCB? Is that one TCB? Is the one I sent is Viz, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, are you asking which one I want to appeal to?
Yeah, which one do you want to go by? And I'm also asking which one is which. I know the one I sent is Viz.
I typically go by TCB, but these both say very similar things.
So we can go by TCB. Okay. Let me give you that one. Here you go.
Yeah. Hey, who can send me $15 real quick?
Nah, they deleted Brij shit.
Yeah, Rika's the external surge of course technique. There you go.
Yeah, good snipe.
Yeah, TCB. That's why I asked you which one you want to go by. I asked you fairly.
Well, I don't know which is which. That's what I'm questioning. But
yeah, okay.
I was told that
because I know the one that I sent is Viz. Yours is what? TCB, Tessera? It has. I mean, which one would it be? Mine's Viz. I know mine's is Viz.
How do you know your? Dude.
Because I got it from Mangacy. Mangacy is Viz.
Bro, Gizbob, that's Viz, bro. He sent his Viz.
Yes, Mangacy is Viz.
Regardless, we could look at the raw, but regardless, it's a direct statement from Gege. So even if you want to argue about what,
but like I said, the Gege thing could be
Yuta is a curse technique.
Hold on,
doesn't really matter.
Could just be vague. Hold on, the Gege thing could just be vague, saying that Rika gives him it. His curse technique is the fact that Rika gives him it. Why not?
It says that's his curse tech. It shows you what he's given after that. There's literally a section that tells you what he's given.
Yeah, okay, so him just saying it's Rika.
And in those very similar sections in the fan book, it says things like for Gojo, it would say like limitless.
Yeah, that's just fits in with my point. That's like him saying that, oh, okay, his CT is Rika, and this is what it grants. It doesn't mean that his innate CT is Rika. It's just that she's the storage of his CT. And we know, by the way,
that was unmutually exclusive at all.
I mean, it does make sense based off this panel. Look in chat.
Well, no, but this doesn't even run counter to Gege's statement. So there's nothing to go against.
Yes, it does. It doesn't categorize Rika as the CT. It categorizes Rika as the external storage of his CT. Rika can facilitate his CT, and that's why that could be.
So his CT is one that allows him to store other CTs. Nice. That's where we
his
got.
CT is copy. If you think that Rika is copy,
Why is it copy? That could just be a stored curse technique as opposed
Uro
to an innate technique.
Uro and Ryu literally say, "Yo, bro, this is not his Uro. Ryuta's curse technique is not to do this. It's copy."
They don't say it's not anything. They just speculate that his CT is copy. But again, you'd be appealing to Ryu's speculation as opposed to Gege's direct
We're
statement.
talking about whether or not Gege's thing is vague or not, and Ryu literally says Yuta's curse technique is not to do this, but it is copy. Okotsu is
not to do what?
It's not to just be a curse speech user with Shikigami. That's literally what Uro says. Okotsu isn't just a curse speech user with Shikigami. Okotsu's curse technique is copy. And by the way, the Gege thing is vague.
Not just be an ability of Rika, his broader curse technique. I don't.
Hold on. Now that is crazy. Because the problem is, we're calling into question whether or not the Gege thing is just vague and there's some form of
Why is it vague? I don't think you've even.
Yes, okay, because there's multiple
reasoning as to why it's vague.
Okay, that's what I'm giving you right now. There's multiple things in the manga that point this out to us. One, the fact that Rika is categorized as the external storage of curse technique. Two, the fact that Uro and Ryu both say that his curse technique is copy, not Rika.
Yeah, so there's speculation that doesn't have to run counter to what Gege says. And
it literally runs. I've given you reasons why it run counter to it. It literally says, and they categorize it in the same type of. Hold on, it categorizes it as copy is his curse technique. Then you go on to say Rika can facilitate that, but it's clearly shown that doesn't mean that Rika is the curse technique herself, which is your initial claim. It just shows that Rika can facilitate the curse technique.
No, okay. My whole thing is following under Gege's statement. All these statements wouldn't be contradictory. We could still interpret the series under Gege's statement. We could just say that, well, Rika grants him these abilities with the ability to copy, the ability to store curse techniques. That's all in line with the broader Rika curse technique. There's still no contradiction for us, and we should appeal to whatever does not create a contradiction, as it's more likely.
Yeah, there's a problem with that. You trying to say that the Gege statement is likelihood increasing is stupid because that's what's in question to whether or not it actually provides likelihood increasing aspects to your argument. I'm saying that it does not because there's clear things that run counter to it. I explain why they run counter. I show you how her curse technique or his curse technique is not categorized as Rika. It's categorized as a copy. Then you try to say that Rika is what facilitates the copy, but that does not make her the curse technique. That just makes her the facilitator of the curse technique. She can facilitate something. That does not mean she is that thing. So she can be, oh, okay, Yuta, well, here's the fucking thingy. Here's your speech. Here's your stupid ass little mic. Take it, loud mic him. That doesn't make her the curse technique. That makes her the facilitator of it, fine. But that does not mean that she is the curse technique. If Gege was describing it in that way, and there's shown reasons by high-level special grade sorcerers that even show that and boost that, then it would make more sense to follow with my interpretation rather than just saying, oh, well, it's shown as Rika, when that could just be an error in language. That could just be him saying, or not extrapolating, a lack of language.
Yeah, no, I think we can. I'll just say one more thing, and I think we can move past this point. But you were saying that Rika can be the facilitator of the curse technique or whatever via their statements or just as presented.
Yes.
Yeah, that could just be part of the broader curse technique. That's really all I need to say.
Again, that doesn't make sense because they literally say that Rika's just a Shikigami. So, and even you gave credence to the fact that Rika is just something that's utilized as a Shikigami now, rather than something, or prior to that, you literally say that Yuta was using her as a Shikigami.
Yeah, I said her utilization is more akin to a Shikigami, but Shikigami are also part of innate techniques in a lot of cases.
Yeah, anyways, it literally says that his curse technique is the ability to copy, right there in that panel.
Yeah, Uro speculates that his ability is...
Oh, look at this one.
Look at which one?
Yuta Okotsu. I don't get what everyone's seeing. It's the ability to copy curse techniques.
That'd be like saying Gojo's ability to stop people from touching him. That can still be a part of a broader curse technique.
That is a part of the limitless curse technique. Obviously, that's his technique. That makes no fucking sense. They are saying that Yuta's technique. Hold on. Like I said, if you have a facilitator of the technique, if let's say Gojo had Yuji needs to be within 5 feet of Gojo every time for him to use his cursed energy, right? That is just a facilitator. That is not the curse technique. That would not mean that Yuji is the curse technique himself. The properties of a curse technique is what makes up the curse technique. So when you say, oh, well, Rika is the curse technique, that is stupid as fuck because it literally shows, like I said with the Yuji example, if Yuji needs to be within 5 feet of Gojo every time he uses blue, that does not mean Yuji is blue. It means he facilitates blue. Just because Gege says Rika, it could just mean that Rika is the facilitator of the curse technique. What's her name? Rika is what facilitates the utilization of the curse technique. It does not mean that Rika is herself the curse technique.
Okay. The issue with that is going to be that these abilities stem from, okay, if we look at on like the fan book thing or whatever, it says curse technique Rika, techniques, curse speech, mimicry. So it attributes this to being a part of Rika or Rika's abilities. saying these are techniques that stem from his broader curse technique.
Yeah, but it literally says in the manga it's his. Like I said, this could just be a lack of extrapolation. I already told you this. This could just be a lack of Gege actually being able to extrapolate on it. Like with the limitless CT, he literally does. I don't know how to explain it too well myself. Gege is a fucking retard. Gege, this could just be another lack of extrapolation or explanation from Gege on his part, because in the manga there's multiple sequences of inconsistency that actually show us it is Yuta's curse technique. It says his curse technique multiple times. I don't know why we would choose to go with Gege, who's shown inconsistencies before, rather than when it actually says that Rika's just a facilitator. By the way, the Gege thing can just fit in with why she is a facilitator. You have not given credence to why that's not the case. It literally can just be, yo, Rika's the facilitator of the CT. And he's not explaining it well. That's fine. And there's multiple instances that back that up, that run counter to that interpretation that I've given credence to.
Okay. The issue with that, fuck, what did you say? I lost my train of thought towards the end there. Said something about, his curse technique. That could just be his in the same sense that they say curse speech is his curse technique or one of his abilities. I don't think that means anything.
It literally says that it's separate from his own innate technique. It literally says that in the panel that you sent. It does not call it like his own thing. It calls it separate from that. It's not his innate technique. But they say that his curse technique is copy. Like I said, him saying that Rika can be the curse technique could just mean that Rika is the facilitator of it. I gave you the Yuji example. Yuji could be within 5 feet of Gojo, and that has to be the condition for him to use blue. That's literally how it happens with Yuta too. Yuta, for Rika, for him to use his cursed energy, or his cursed technique, sorry, not his cursed energy, for him to use the cursed speech, it's a condition in which Rika must be manifested for him to use it. That's why she is the facilitator of it. It's more consistent.
That can be in line with both interpretations, but let me pull up the fanbook stuff. Let me pull up the fanbook stuff. I would just want to show a couple examples of those sort of like outlines where they say what people's curse techniques are, just to provide a consistency, and I don't think there's really much more we need to go over. Does anyone have like the other characters where they go over and say what their curse technique is and their specific abilities?
Wait, what'd you say, Logan?
I said I said like the fan book port. I'm about to break your fucking bones, Infinity. But I said like the portions of the fan book where it goes over people's curse techniques or whatever, and it says like Gojo curse technique, limitless abilities, red, blue, purple, etc. Shit like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to create some sort of consistency for it. So I don't think there's going to be much more I need to go over after that. Raw says jujutsu. If I look at the kanji, I could probably find a kanji for. Oh, you sent it. Nicely done.
Bro, you already know. I'll come clutch. Come on.
Who are you?
Raw's on lock.
Who is this guy?
Yo, get off Din's dick.
All right, bro.
Yeah, Clixu, whatever the fuck that says, I'm not going to get into that. But Jujutsu probably is indicative of curse technique. I just need to see if it aligns with the other characters used for curse technique.
Yo, Infinity, I wrote that shit down for you, by the way.
Wrote what down?
Check DMs. Just in case, I had to write it down.
This is about to be like the top incident.
You're making it sound so biased.
My fault. No, I just write it down. I don't know. I just like to write things down when there's a lot of shit going on because we won over so many points. So I just like to write down the most current points, most like relevant thing. That's what I do.
I thought it was gonna be like a tournament situation, dude. Me and him were debating, and that boy was weird, bro. He like mid debate, he like tried to pull up some timestamp where he thought I conceded, and then
because you know how
completely off.
You know how there's a lot of points going on, and since the calling games operates off more of an immediate judgment basis, I don't want there to be like one random forgotten fucking point, so I just write them down.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not trolling you. I promise. Anyways, can we get a 3-second burden of rejoinder? 1, 2, 3. That's my reason.
What the fuck is wrong with you? I could scroll through the fan book, but I'd really rather not. Like, somebody please clutch up.
Bro's just gonna let that slide. Okay.
That's what I was saying.
It's troll. I'm not
trolling him. Wait, no
We're
more
not
troll.
dealing with this troll shit. What is
1, 2,
wrong
3.
with you? You're
Also,
not Infinity, bro.
Gizbob, look in chat. Tessero spitting, but that is true.
Tessero's looking shit up on Safari.
No,
Tessero's he's a demon, bro.
troll.
He's a demon. He's a demon. Chill on him. But yeah,
This same exact shit, Mo. That is the same thing that he sent me earlier. I don't know what Clicks is trying to do.
Clicks. I said the other characters so I can create the consistency.
Yo, Infinity, you said I wrote down little guy.
Uh-huh.
All right, bro. So how many Maki Nikes?
3, I got
Oh, okay, so it stayed the same. We know what that means.
you. Yeah.
That means that Gizbob losing.
Anyways,
Because that means that the effort level hasn't risen. You know what I mean?
Jiro Megami, Curse Technique 10 Shadows, Techniques, a bunch of applications of 10 Shadows.
Yeah,
So
that's fine. I already told you why it's different with Yuta. Because if there's some sort of condition that's been added on for him to use his curse energy, his curse technique to facilitate it, and that thing is being called his curse technique, right? That's stupid because that could just be a lack of explanation from Geto or from what's his name? What's his name? Gege, yeah. From Gege.
yeah, I don't
because
even think it's a
Megami
lack
says
of
it comes from Yuta.
explanation. I think it's
Chair,
perfectly in
hold
line
up.
with how everyone else is described.
Yo,
Yeah,
can y'all
hold
get another judge, bro?
Wait, hold on. The problem is the fact that Megami's thing is a soul curse technique. He just has Shikigami jutsu. That's like a commonly used thing from the Zenin clan that's been passed down for years. That one's really easy to explain. There's no sort of conditions. In fact, they even call Yuta's curse technique something that's unusual. They call it second to Gojo Satoru's abilities in unusual things, which we already know that Gege had a little bit of trouble with. Well, yes,
that is not what
yes,
they
it is. It says that
You
it
misquoted.
literally says
It's
he's
a second only to Gojo in
Jutsu
terms of
abilities.
unusual abilities. The issue there is going to be unusual abilities might just be indicative of supernatural abilities or curse techniques as a whole. Might just be
Okay,
saying
we can go over that. We can go over that.
Do you really want to go?
Hold on, do you not think that summoning a big ass fucking faggot bug is unusual and supernatural?
I don't think it's more unusual than some abilities. No, I don't think it's that crazy.
Here's the problem. It would be I feel like it's more consistent to say that this thing is referential towards it being unusual in Jujutsu Society. Because if you just want to say it's supernatural in terms of society in JJK, that's fine. Summoning a big fucking faggot bug named Agito is also supernatural and weird, like Megami can do, or Maharaga, or any of those things, those big fucking queers, right? But with Yuta, I think it's unnatural in terms of actual Jujutsu Society, because they say it like with Gojo is someone who's able to use the six eyes, the limitless, hollow purple, all these things. He's unusually strong. He goes against the norms, like shown in his
He's
fight with
unusually strong, but what they'd be
Yes,
the
he
metric
also has an
comparison
unusual
there would be the strength, not the unusual. Okay, so what do you think the metric comparison is?
Yeah, the
Do you
problem
think
is
they're comparing how unusual the abilities are or how strong they are?
You asked me a question. I'm answering it. They literally attributed it to the fact that there's not been another six eyes user. They call it rare. They talk about how there's not been another six eyes user in X amount of years. They called it rare. They categorize that thing as rare. Six eyes plus limitless is rare. So that's why I'm saying Yuta Okoto's thing is more of a rare thing, and that's why they call it unusual, because you can summon a big faggot dog, and that can be supernatural, but not necessarily unusual within Jujutsu Society, because the 10 Shadows is more normatively passed on.
Okay, so my major issue with that is you're trying to say that the comparative metric here is going to be how unusual it is, right? That's what they're comparing. It's just how unusual or uncommon these abilities are. Right?
It depends on the context.
Well, I'm saying for the Yuta statement, it's you that's
I
arguing.
already get the context for the Yuta statement. The thing is with 10 Shadows is it's passed down, so it's not necessarily as unusual as that, but it can be supernatural in reference to Jujutsu, like not Jujutsu.
Well, no. What I'm asking you is the statement made about Yuta saying he's second only to Gojo. Do you think that's comparing how unusual the abilities are? You think it's saying he has the second most unusual abilities?
It literally says in terms of unusual abilities.
Okay, so
plus,
in terms of unusual, we have no idea, but
yeah,
in terms of unusual abilities, that could be ranking the potency or efficiency of the unusual abilities, or just how unusual they are. That's what I'm asking.
Wait, do you want to build a consistency for that? Because it literally shows like people who are the special grade, like Uro and Ryu, were confused the whole time while fighting him as to what he is, but then they were able to determine
it after question.
Yeah, I'm building my consistency. I don't think your question is really relevant. There's clear consistency to show why Yuta's ability is unusual in reference to actual Jujutsu Society stuff. But then outside of that, something like summoning a big faggot dog bug mixed with an elephant would be supernatural. But inside of Jujutsu Society, it wouldn't be unusual because it's a technique that's passed down. But with Yuta's, we can clearly see there are people who are special grade, like Uro and Ryu, who have trouble analyzing what his whole thing is, his spiel, until after fighting him for a prolonged amount of time. And we also see that there's a statement made about how he's unusual, second to Gojo in unusual abilities.
Well, I know the consistency you're trying to build, but I'm saying that statement or the last statement that you reference individually is probably not comparing how unusual these abilities are. My reasoning for that is going to be this is one of the, I would say, fairly rare narrative statements given like describing a character's abilities or whatever. And like, I guess, ranking that sort of ability in terms of the overall verse. My whole thing is it wouldn't make sense to go on ad nauseum and say, yeah, these abilities are weird. They're weird. They're weird. They're the second most weird. Instead, I think it holds more weight and more impact for the narrator to convey that these unusual abilities, which I think could just be in reference to curse techniques or utilization of jujutsu, are the second most potent or most powerful.
Oh, you think it's in terms of potency and power?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can go over that. I don't think it's in potency and power at all. So you're saying that in terms of common current Jujutsu society, Yuta has the correct and strongest curse technique?
Yeah, I think that's what it could be saying. Sure.
Okay, yeah, that's what it could be saying. And you're saying that for what reason?
Just the whole narrator spiel that I just gave doesn't make
Okay,
sense
yeah,
to go on
the
ad
narr-
nauseum and repeat the same
hold
idea.
on, hold on. You can think that the narrator's pointing to that, but your reasoning behind that is a statement, right? But the statement literally says in terms of unusual abilities.
Yeah, but what about the unusual ability?
Yeah,
It's comparing unusual abilities, but in what sense? That's what I'm
Yes,
asking.
I gave you the sense that it could be being used, and I gave likelihood increasing arguments for
Yeah,
it.
and I
Literally, hold on. I'll tell you them again. I told you how summoning that big fucking faggot bug is not a supernatural in reference to Jujutsu's like actual people outside of that. That could be supernatural for them because we know the curse spirits are supernatural for them. But inside of Jujutsu society, it's not because Ten Shadows is a technique that's passed on usually amongst the Zenin clan, so it's not unusual for them, right? But when you talk about Yuta's thing, I'd give you two people who are special grade, and they both had trouble identifying what Yuta is. At first, they say he's the Shikigami user, which we know is something that's commonplace.
Did he cut out, or is that me?
No,
Yeah,
he cut out.
Okay.
yeah, Shikigami users are commonplace. We know that because of the Zenin clan. So that's why Uro goes, oh, he's a Shikigami user. Cursed speech, something like that, is passed down throughout the Inumaki clan. So she goes, oh, he's a cursed speech user. But then when she finds out that he's able to copy different techniques, she's shocked at that and says, Okotsu's technique is not the commonplace things. She references them. She goes, cursed speech user or Shikigami. She says, rather, he's a cursed speech or copy user. And by the way, this is backed up by the fact that Yuta, we remember when Gojo was talking about his ancestors, how he has done. Same with Rika.
Well,
Yeah, he
has
has a
none.
distance.
He's tied to the one bloodline.
Yeah,
Forgot
that
what it's
one
called.
guy. And Uro fought him. And Uro doesn't know about copy. Uro literally fought that whole clan, and she didn't know about copy. She talks about how he could be a Shikigami user. She talks about all that after knowing that he was a relative of that guy, but then points out, oh, copy afterwards.
Okay, so the things you're using to try to say there's some sort of likelihood increasing argument, I think can just as easily be pointed towards my conclusion. My whole thing is it doesn't make sense. One of the initial points that I made was it doesn't make sense to go on ad nauseum and repeat the same idea. Oh, it's weird, as opposed to giving us some different information. So I'm saying you're using this to increase the likelihood that they're repeating this idea. I'm saying that doesn't make sense.
Okay, you can think that it makes sense due to some sort of interpretation that you made up in Gizbob land because of the quote-unquote narrative that's pointing to it. You can think that. I've given you actual reasons that show that this thing is not commonplace. It shows that this thing is unusual. It shows that this thing is not in the norm in terms of what's being utilized, like Shikigami or cursed speech utilization. It shows that those things are commonplace, and it makes the contrast between those things. It makes a distinction. It draws a line between them to show that this is not. And it even, by the way, the word choice that's used in that specific statement that we're referencing literally says unusual, which you're trying to say is akin to something unnatural. But I already showed you unnatural is more referential towards something like a big fucking faggot dog that you can summon that gets pointed towards actual humans. That's unnatural, or supernatural, right? But unusual more so aligns with what I'm saying. And I give credence to that.
Brij, I'm not saying the abilities are not unusual. I'm saying that's not what's being compared here. You can say it's in line with some sort of made-up interpretation. My whole thing is it doesn't make sense for an author to repeat the same idea 30 times in a span of 5 chapters. There's no benefit to the audience, as opposed to giving us new sense of information, especially while utilizing the narrator, which is rarely utilized in such instances.
Yeah, when did he do that?
You just named a bunch of instances within the same set of 5 chapters that say the same fucking thing.
So that is the same sequence of events. He's literally just referencing. Okay, so I brought up multiple different instances that happen in different places in time. I brought up the relative thing. I brought up how what's her name, Uro knows about that and still is shocked by the curse speech or the copy thing. And I brought up how it's drawn in line with those two commonplace things, which we know they are commonplace. That is not the same thing in 5 chapters. That first statement happens in volume 0. Well, this is just retarded.
Wait, what first statement about the unusual shit that does not happen in volume 0? I don't know what you're talking about.
No, not the unusual shit. The statement about how he has no relatives besides that one guy. I'm using that one.
I'm speaking as to pointing to the idea that it's unusual. This idea you're saying is being reiterated a bunch in the span of 5 chapters. I'm saying that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, okay. The problem is if you think that that's what's happening, obviously, I just showed you that's not what's happening. It's just the same one sequence of events. He references it like a couple times. And again, even if you think that, show me why it makes no sense for him to do that. Why does it make no sense for an author to do that?
I already provided rationale. That's why.
No, you didn't. You just said that it's true.
No, I said that if he's
sense.
utilizing the narrator, which isn't commonly used in these sorts of statements or giving these sorts of statements, it's like it doesn't make sense to reiterate an idea that's stated 50 times in 5 chapters.
Okay, so that it's unusual.
Show what's unusual.
Oh my god, you're making the claim that it's unusual for an author to do this thing,
No,
right?
I'm not saying it's unusual. I'm saying it's ineffective writing. It doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah, go ahead and prove that. For Gege.
For Gege,
it's unusual and ineffective writing? Okay, all these things point to the conclusion. Gizbob is trying to reach the conclusion that it doesn't mean my interpretation. All I'm saying is I've given likelihood increasing reasons for why this is the case. And he's saying, oh, but it doesn't make sense because it's ineffective writing. I'm asking him to prove that it's ineffective writing. You can't just refer back to your interpretation. That's question beg. Show me why this is ineffective writing.
Brij, if I wrote a story and it was the same sentence 300 times, would you enjoy that story? Would you interpret that story well? You can understand how this idea follows if you understand.
Is that what happens, or are you appealing to extremes? I already told you he's only referenced to it a few times throughout that sequence of events. It literally happens like twice.
It's not one sequence either. This statement is an entirely different sequence.
No, that statement.
I'm dragging it for the point of conveying this idea. I'm not saying he literally does this 500 times and it's the same.
Okay, but obviously putting weight onto that number would give credence to the argument. I'm saying this only happens like 1 or 2 times. If you're trying to say that it's based off the number of times he writes it in, then go ahead and show me the amount of times you think he references it in that sequence of events and give credence to your argument by virtue of that.
If not, popped up in my head. Hold on. Aren't we appealing to TCB?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, this just popped up. I just remembered this. Aren't we appealing to TCB?
The TCB one says exactly what I just said.
It does not say what you think it
already
says.
Went over it.
No, it did not go over TCB for that. It says second strongest only to Gojo. It's more in line with what I'm saying.
To what? It says unusual, does it not?
No,
TCB,
it just says second strongest.
TCB is the one that says he's a prodigy, only second strongest to Gojo. That's the prodigy.
Does TCB the one that says a prodigy?
Yeah, so that's TCB.
Second only to Gojo, prodigy.
Yeah, that's fine. The Uro example still stands. Doesn't matter.
Well, Brij, your whole initial
point. By the way, do you not think that Viz
refines?
Viz refines their mistakes, right?
Refines their mistakes in what sense?
Yeah, you remember the
like
Gojo
volume releases? Maybe they'll make some alterations. Sure.
Yeah, you remember the Gojo curse spirit manipulation thing?
Yeah, that's like a blatant mistranslation, though.
Yeah,
this is something that can still be interpreted in the way I'm interpreting it, in the way Viz
or I showed you why hold on. So if we want to argue now over which one we can utilize for this specific argument, I gave credence to the Viz one. If you want to say that's the Viz one, then fine. I gave credence to it with the Uro thing. It just makes more sense. So now we're arguing over translation. So for Giz, now if we want to argue over which one makes more sense in this context, if we agree to TCB for that specific one, and now we're arguing over which one makes more sense in this context, I would just say I gave credence to the Viz one via the Uro thing, and you just haven't.
It would be dependent on the previous statements, but no, I don't think there's no credence given to the idea that he's second strongest to Gojo. The first guy Gojo thinks of when Kenjaku seals him is, oh, Yuta. Yuta will fuck you up. That's the first guy that pops into his mind. Yuta's
he doesn't know about
wait.
You know the problem? Maki isn't realized at this point in the fight.
I don't care about Maki.
Yeah, well, okay, this is the problem. There's people who could outmatch Yuta in terms of strength, which makes that current statement about how he would be the second strongest in reference to Gojo. It kind of makes it null and void. But
if Yuta's over that Maki.
If Yuta's over the current Maki?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. We can go over
there's
that.
There's more statements in line with that.
I think there's like 3 people: Kashimo, Hikari, and Maki. We can go over all 3 of them.
Kashimo doesn't. I don't even. He does exist at one.
We can go over Hikari and Maki, but Kashimo obviously showing up later in the story. If you want to say the statement's not applicable to him, that's fine. We can go over Maki and Kashimo though, or not Kashimo. Sorry, Hikari.
God, bro,
if you want to, okay. This is like we're getting really derailed, but. Let me see if I can find this statement.
Hold on, Infinity. If you just want to say, the problem is I showed one translation and I showed an instance in the series that matches up with that translation, how that's an unusual.
Just go, bro. Just go. Man.
Yeah, if you want to conclude on that, we can. I mean, I gave credence to my translation, why it's consistent with other events in the manga.
I'm trying to give credence to mine right now.
With what? The fact that he's the second strongest?
Well, the Kenjaku thing, and now we're getting into...
So yes, obviously this points to the fact that he's the second strongest. You think that, right? You think that it points to that?
The Kenjaku thing, yes, and the statement given here, yes.
So you're trying to give credence to your translation by going over why he's second strongest, right?
Yeah.
Fine. See, Infinity, I did not pose this. He did.
Oh, well, it's just this thing where I don't want to, like, have an interpretation with less credence given to it, but...
You said what?
I said it's just to say, like, I don't want to get into it, but I don't want to, like, leave you with a bunch of supporting evidence for your interpretation and none for mine. You know?
Yeah, that means we have to go over him being second strongest in the current gen.
Okay, who do you think are like the major players that might influence this?
Fucking God, bro. Okay.
Maki,
Hikari.
You want to go over each of these people individually?
Yeah, because I think Akari's stronger than him, and I think Maki's stronger than him.
Okay, why do you think Akari's stronger than him?
I think Yuta gives admission to it, and it's also in the data book that he's the strongest.
The data book reiterates the exact same statement Yuta makes, but
what does it say? It says that
Yuta's humility, which is a character trait highlighted in the, I don't know what it is.
That's fine. The data book, is the data book based off of Yuta's statement? And would the data book have the same personality trait of humility? I don't think that makes any sense. Why would the data book have the personality trait of humility? It's a fucking data book. Oh, okay. So we're basically debating two topics at once right now.
Hello, guys.
Oh shit, it's Onwin.
Do you guys have any points judged so far?
No, not yet. But right now, it's pretty much like Giz is trying to give credence to his point. I gave it for mine. Now we have to do a second fucking topic, pretty much, to give credence to his point.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I want to leave so bad, but I don't want to be L man.
Bro, Infinity, you can't lie. It was way easier to give supporting evidence for my point. This guy is we're now having a second debate because of it, pretty much.
Bro, this is not my fault.
Yo, can y'all just like drop this debate, right?
What, bro?
Go ahead.
It's like something I feel like I got to. Actually, wait, where does this tie? Where does this tie into the broader debate? I'll see if it's even worth.
Okay, I'll tell you where it does. So the problem right now is whether or not that statement is referential towards unusual abilities or him being the strongest and a prodigy, the second strongest.
Okay,
right?
if it's saying they're unusual, what does that entail? What does that mean?
So it being unusual, from what I remember, if this is the case, then we tie it back to say that Yuta having unusual abilities, right? The thing in the ghetto, the volume 0 thing, that whole thing would go to me. You feel me? Oh God, I forgot what happened. What did this get back into?
What?
That's
God, I forgot what happened. What's
okay, Infinity, bro. Help us track.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Hold on. Okay.
I'm not even gonna waffle. What is this leading back to again?
Y'all niggas are okay, bro. This is why I was telling Tessa or whatever his name is in DMs. Can y'all just get back to the Blitz shit?
Bro, back to that, but I feel like we're just gonna come back here. There was a reason we're here.
None of y'all gave credence to anything.
We got here somehow, some way.
You just said he's blitzing him. Bro. Oh my God.
Oh wait,
y'all got here from the training shit, huh?
Yeah, no, but the blitz thing looped back into actually.
I promise you, what's gonna happen is we're gonna go back to the blitz thing. We're gonna find ourselves right back here.
If it starts to go down this route, then we'll fix it. But I don't think it will.
I promise you, it's just going to happen again. How did we get here in the first place?
Bro,
a funny little peculiar chain of events.
Okay, look.
Do you want to pause the rec? Wait, here. I have an idea. Do you want to pause the rec, find out how we got here, and then continue?
That's up to you guys. I don't have like
not watching recording,
but we can do whatever.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, you can watch that shit, little nigga. I'm not doing that.
I was gonna say it depends on how long it's gonna take, though. That's my issue because I don't have a ton of time.
We can continue a different day. Yeah, that's fine. I know you don't have too much time today. We could continue a different day.
Yeah, if that's how you want to go about it, we can.
I'm fine with that. I mean, you're not a Spurs guy. You're not D1 who's gonna VC trap me and say that I can't leave.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, we can continue a different day.
Yo, can someone help me? Shinra, what the fuck?
Unless somebody knows where this leads back to, like if somebody knows and
I don't think a single person.
Nobody but me and Tessero were listening.
Tessero said y'all was talking about Ghetto blitzing Yuta, and then Yuta's Chris Henry control, and then whether or not if Yuta was the reason for his own strength. Okay, what we were talking about is very specifically is if Rika was his curse technique.
Oh,
this got brought up because of that. This got brought up because of that.
Yeah. So that's what it ties back into. I would just get that point.
Wait, why? Where's the? Explain to me the correlation.
Here's the correlation. So I was making the initial claim that Yuta's curse technique. You were trying to say that Rika is the curse technique, right? That was your claim, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you were saying that Rika is the curse technique. I was saying that copy is the curse technique. Then you got into. I said I think I brought up the unusual abilities thing. And I was like, oh yeah, it's clearly pointed out as an unusual ability second to Gojo. Oh yeah, and then I brought up how Gojo's ability being unusual was the reason that Gege was not able to write it incorrectly. He literally was like fumbling all over the place. We know it's an unusual ability, so I said that could just be. I just brought this up as one thing, like one facet. Yeah. So if it's unusual, that just means that there's a possibility that Gege is just fucking stupid and not writing it incorrectly. But this also goes in tandem with the other points of what's it called? The fact that they call it his CT and the fact that Rika could just be the facilitator, the Yuji analogy, all those things.
That's all. Then I'm just gonna say it's ad hoc. It's ad hoc. You're adding an extra assumption to try to go against some sort of contradiction.
I don't think that's what it is.
Your interpretation it has an extra assumption embedded into it.
What do you mean by an extra assumption? The fact that Gojo's like unusual
I'm
ability?
saying it says this. It's consistent that whatever is listed as curse technique is their innate curse technique, and you're saying, well, it could be this. You're adding an extra assumption that's not necessary. So
you don't think that it could be unusual?
No, I'm saying the assumption is that Gege fucked up and didn't elaborate.
No. Gege literally admittedly fucked up with Gojo's ability. You know that, right?
With Gojo's ability? What do you mean?
Yes, with Gojo's ability when he was writing in the Limitless, he literally said, I don't know how to explain it too well myself.
That's entirely different than listing Rika as his curse technique incorrectly.
Here's the point. Him just saying that it's Rika CT, right? And then going on to say, and then there are events that counter that. This is why I said you have to view them in tandem. Obviously, if you pick them off one by one, it's gonna seem like it's an extra assumption. But in tandem with the fact that there are actual sequences that run counter to that, like the fact that they call it his curse technique, the fact that Uro had trouble identifying it. And like I said, there are the commonplace things like Shikigami utilization and curse feature utilization. Those things are commonplace. And then I point out how with Yuta, they point out it's his curse technique, and they point out that what Rika does is she is the storage of his CT. And I said that this translation could just be Geto or Gege lacking extrapolation for his thing.
Yeah. So again, even at the end of all that, I feel like I already attacked the whole. There's a couple statements with this thing. Not the unusual. I don't even think that matters. I'm saying the other instances you used to say that Rika is not his curse technique. I feel like I already attacked that stuff. And even at the end of all you just gave, there's still an added assumption that being that Gege messed up here. So
yeah, okay. Like I said with the Gojo thing, if you want me to reword that, it's not the fact that he messed up. It's the fact that he's not able to sufficiently explain it well himself. Right? Then we see that Yuta's ability is also unusual. So I'm saying there's the possibility that he's just not extrapolating on it well enough for us to have a concise explanation of what it is. But we can clearly see that there are events in the manga that run counter to that give credence to my interpretation. That's why I said view them in tandem with each other rather than picking them apart one by one. Obviously, if you pick them apart like that, it's going to seem as if there was an added assumption, but you can clearly see that when you view them in tandem with each other, there is no implemented added assumption. You can see when you talk about Yuta, they say his curse technique. They show that Rika's just the external storage of it. I gave you the Yuji analogy in which there's a condition in which he has to stand 5 feet away for him to use blue. That doesn't mean that Yuji is the curse technique itself. Like I said, the properties of the curse technique is what make up the curse technique. Rika does not make up the properties of what copy is. It calls it Yuta CT. That's not an added assumption.
Yeah, I feel like I already attacked all the stuff that he says runs directly counter to it or runs counter to that interpretation. And assuming it does not run counter, then I feel like the ad hoc thing goes through. But we can just leave a contention upon that for that point. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, why do you think it runs counter?
Yo, I ain't gonna lie.
I don't think it runs counter. That's what I'm arguing.
No, why? Oh, yeah. You don't think my interpretation runs counter to the one Gege gave?
No, the instances you gave don't run counter. I already explained why.
Yeah, so when you say, because here's the way you're trying to come to a conclusion upon it. You're trying to say that Gege's statement means that Rika is the curse technique, but we can clearly see that she's not the curse technique because she's not the property that builds up that curse technique. She is not copy, she is Rika, and that's pointed out. There's a line distinction drawn because it says that Rika Orimoto is the external storage of that curse technique. So that means that she would not be the curse technique if she's the external storage of it. She's just a facilitator of it, which literally runs counter to what you're trying to imply with the Gege scan, which is that it is Rika herself is the curse technique, or she is she has the properties that make up and conform this curse technique. But it's clearly shown that by virtue of Uro and statements that say it is his curse technique that these interpretations run counter to yours.
Yeah, I feel like this is already stuff I went over.
Okay. Yeah. All right. You want to conclude?
Sure.
Okay. Is Infinity even still here? I'm pretty sure he left. Yep.
This guy's not real.
Let's just give him the rec and let him go over the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, Gizbob, you're welcome, bro. You already know how to rolls on hand for you, bro.
All right, we can just go over. We can send Infinity the rec. You can go over the last 20 minutes.
Okay.
because that's all pretty much all that matters. I'm pretty sure the stuff before that is just connective.
Okay, and then do we need to continue upon anything past that?
After that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. What are we missing? Because this would establish that Yuta got blitzed, pretty much all in all.
Well, no,
you,
I still have issues with that.
Okay, fine. So then we can go over different lines of scaling, but yeah.
Okay.
But we would just establish that this one line is shut down for you.
Yeah, I don't even think the blitz would shut down this line of scaling, but we can
get into that once he judges the point.
Oh yeah, you wanna wait for judgment before we continue on?
Yeah, anything? Obviously. I think we should just wait for this.
Sure, that's fine.
By the way, this fucking queer infinity left during the most important part, by the way. I don't know if Tesla was listening the whole time, but y'all don't want me to judge? Yeah, you're right, I guess.
I have no issue with getting his opinion on it at the very least, since he was here. Probably like the only person actively engaged.
That's okay. So no, I'm trolling.